this is a really fun and special episode, so I just want to give a little preamble. First of all, I'm here with Kelly and Kat, and I'm going to introduce them in a minute. But a few weeks ago, I went out to my email list of people who had been on my podcast, and I said, hey, if you know anybody who'd be good for my show, send them my way. And Anna Fulmer, I'm going to call her out, guest on my podcast last year. I was a guest on her podcast. She sent me the two of you, which was so cool. And you two sent me the nicest email. And I looked at it and I said, I got to have these two on. So we are here now recording. We're recording this Monday, May 22nd. And we're going to release this next week. And we're going to release this next week for a very specific reason that we're going to get into today. So Kelly and Kat, welcome. First of all, so nice to meet you here live. Thank you so much for reaching out. And here we are.
Hello. Thank you for having us. We are so excited to be here.
Yes, I know. This is going to be a really fun interview. We're going to do a really open format today. We're just going to get to know you, get to know what you two are all about. Kelly and Kat are, first of all, they're sisters. So you've known each other for a long time. Long time, as long as you've been alive. And they are singers and songwriters, and they do it together. Which we were catching up before the show is a little bit unique. I mean, it happens in music, but not all that often. So let's kick it off with where are you located in the world today and anything else you want us to maybe just know about the two of you before we get into a really awesome conversation about tunes and sisterhood and everything in between.
Yeah, right now we are in my bedroom on Long Island, New York. Yeah, we're just super excited to be here, and we're so glad that, the timing worked out and Hannah connected us. We're very grateful to the both of you, and we're really excited to be here and chat with you today.
Yeah, awesome. So Long Island in your bedroom, that's great. I like the specificity. Like, where are you specifically? I'm in Kelly's bedroom right now. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
We usually write in my room, but we'll do our video stuff in here. So it's whenever we have one of these, we got the nice white walls in here. So.
The background is great. Like the LED. Looks like you got some nice mood, like some cool LEDs in there. Also, your sound is really good. Not all the podcast guests that come on, sometimes have the sound in there, so that you've got room darkening shades or something that it sounds like you're in a really professional setup.
Oh wow! Thank you.
There you go. This is your home studio from now on. Okay, so let's kick this off. And I've mentioned this to you. I've had a few people from the music business on, but never quite in this format with a release upcoming. So let's start the genesis of the two of you together. So first of all, you two are the artists together. Kelly and Kat, you release music together. This is like Destiny's Child, except actual siblings. And then you could split off into the future, but for right now, you're actually sibling. So let's talk about when you first got started and knew that you wanted to do this together. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your path to musicianship and singing and songwriting as children and the inspiration for all of this.
Yes, of course. So when I was 4 years old, I was extremely shy, very shy, very in my shell. So my mom signed me up for a local theater class, and they were doing musicals and plays to try to kind of get me out of my shell a little bit, get me a little bit more outgoing. It didn't really work at first. The first play that I did, I had one line because I didn't want to talk. I was very scared. And my line was spying. That was my big, what
a line, spying.
At 4 years old. And so then the more that I did the plays that year, I wanted to get bigger parts and I wanted to kind of learn more how to sing. So my mom signed me up with the theater director, Karen Van Houten, who has been so influential in our journey together. And I started taking voice lessons with her. And my mom would come to the voice lessons with Kat, and I'd be sitting there, and you want to take over from here with your part?
Yeah, and for me, it was a little bit different. I kind of always knew I wanted to sing. I was loud. I was out there. That was just who I was. Mm-hmm. And I was maybe 5, and Kelly was at voice lesson one day, and Kelly was singing it, and whatever she was singing was not correct.
I was off key.
And so I in the corner was like, that's not how it goes, Kelly. It goes like this. And then I sang it, and our voice teacher, who at the time, I was little, and she was a very demanding woman, was a little scary to me. And so she was like, you come here. And she made me sing it. And when I sing, and I guess I sang it well enough that she looked at my mom and was like, you need to put her in voice lessons immediately.
Nice.
And so from there, I took voice lessons as well. And then I started doing the shows because you see your cool older sister on stage and you go, I want to do that too. And our love for theater kind of just spiraled out of control. And we spent like every weekend. And then, I think we did like 2 shows every year until the time we were in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. And we absolutely loved it. Like everything that we were doing. And we were taking voice lessons still separately and only doing plays and stuff. We did also, when we were little, like one of our favorite things to do together was we had the giant cassette players and CD player. And we had Britney Spears CDs. Our cousins gave us an Avril Lavigne CD. We had the Mariah Carey Christmas one. We used to go downstairs and sing along to them and dance around. And obviously pop songs are very different than show tune songs.
Yes.
So we used to love it. And I remember I used to listen to Britney Spears and Mariah Carey and just be like, I wish that I could do this. This is so cool at like 5, 6 years old. So I think it was once we got into high school, our vocal coach said to us, why don't you guys try singing together? I think it was at one of the voice lessons. I had my voice lesson and Kat had hers right after. And she was like, Kelly, stay. And I want to do this song together. And we started doing harmonies to these songs. And she was like, you know what? You guys should go home and kind of work more on them. And I think at this point, Kat had been starting to write songs on her own. Kat had been writing songs, I think, since the time she was 5.
They were not good. Let's be very clear. They were terrible songs. But yeah, I was like writing songs forever. And it was probably not until like middle school, high school that I got serious with it, which sounds funny to be like, I was seriously writing in middle school. But yeah, we definitely kind of just like took that idea and ran with it. And we had, I think, like once or twice, our voice teacher and our parents were like, why don't you sing this here or there? So we did, but it was such a crazy experience because like we've always been described as, our voice teacher would be like, you guys have such different voices, you're never going to be cast as the same part. And then for us to end up singing together was so interesting.
She was the one that heard that, I have like a lower register and Kat has a higher one. And she was like, there's something so special sometimes about like the siblings and family harmonies. Like you can just really lock into those places that, the other one is missing. And we really did. So like Kat said, we started singing at just little like festivals and stuff like locally that was around. And like at school, there was like little events and fundraisers that we started singing for, but just doing covers, nothing too crazy. And then I think it was right when the movie Frozen came out and Let It Go is everywhere. And
I've heard it a few times. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I've heard. Oh, yes. I've seen Frozen a few times. Yes.
That song gets stuck in your head. Yeah.
Yes. So she was actually the one that said to us, you guys should maybe try to come up with something for this. So Kat and I went home. We like took the whole song apart, added all these harmonies, changed melody lines and everything. And I think that was right when the song came out. And then I think about 8 or 9 months later, I was on Facebook. And at the time, like I just had Facebook because I was on Kickline at high school. So I had to make a Facebook. I was never on it for any other reason. And somebody had posted something in a group that I was in for Kickline. And I opened up the Facebook app, and right there was a thing that said, it was an ad for Sing Your Best Version of Let It Go and it was through Kohl's The American Music Awards and Disney. And it said for your chance to be featured on the American Music Awards. So I came to Kat and I was like, we have a version of this. And
she finds it the night it's due.
Yes.
So,
of course.
And that was 2014. So I was 15.
She was a freshman in high
14.
School.
I just started high school. And
I was a junior in high school at the time.
I want to pause and ask a question. Has either Kristen Bell or Idina Menzel seen your version? Or do you know if anybody's seen it who's in the film?
I don't know, but I'm a huge Demi Lovato fan, Lovato. And the 2014 American Music Awards, like she was there. And so I don't know if they played it on the screens there. Like, I don't know if they played the commercials there.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, did Demi know who I am? Like,
She knows. She knows.
I hope. Like, but yeah, I don't know. That would be, I mean,
That'd be amazing.
It's such an amazing song. And
It is.
It's such a, like, I mean, the vocal power you need to do that song well. And so the fact that this opportunity fell into our hands and we, you know, submitted a version and we're like, whatever, we're never going to hear back from this.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I think it was like a couple of days later, I got an email from a Disney executive and they were like, we absolutely love your version. We want to fly you guys out to California as part of like the top 10 finalists. Wow. And you guys are going to come out there. The only thing is that we had to sign 1 million NDAs. So we had to
it's Disney.
Yep.
Of course.
We had to tell school that we were sick.
Oh, and everyone was so mad until they found out why. Because once we could tell people, then they were like, do you need extra time? And I was like, you people already made me take every test. But yeah, and we, at that point, we had never been on a plane before. So
it was our first plane ride.
Yeah,
it was really amazing. We got to meet everybody else, which is actually crazy because we've actually reconnected with some of the finalists in different ways, which has been absolutely amazing. They were all so talented, so sweet. We got to work with Disney executives. We filmed little interviews that actually ended up going on Disney Channel itself,
which was really weird to see. Like, growing up watching Disney Channel, that was like
always being like, oh, I want to be on there, and how crazy would that be, and turning it on,
and then our faces was on. It was a crazy experience. But like all the finalists filmed the commercial, so nobody knew who was gonna win.
And they said, now when you go home, you can tell everybody, tell them to vote for you. We're gonna put the commercials up. There's gonna be a website, and people have, I think, up until the American Music Awards or right before, to vote. And then the night of the American Music Awards, whoever wins, it'll be the last commercial of the night. So we came home, we told everybody here, everybody was really amazing, like the community, like our high school and everything, everybody really like gathered around us, and it was incredible. And we had a bunch of friends and family over for the American Music Awards, and we weren't expecting anything else. We were just so grateful to have that opportunity. It was so surreal. And then it actually wasn't the last commercial. It was like in the middle.
It was like in the middle. So we had no idea.
Not expecting it
and
at all.
All of a sudden it just was like,
congratulations, Kelly and Kat. And we were like,
God.
It was one of those moments where like, I just looked at Kelly and everything else like kind of stopped. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And so that moment was kind of when we were like, okay, we really want to do this. And now we have confirmation that like we can do this. So that was really the moment where we decided to take it super seriously together. So that was that like really defining moment for us.
Do you remember watching the commercial once it was on, or is it like, did you black out?
A little bit of both.
I could see.
Yeah, I can remember, but the whole night honestly is kind of like, I remember
like
our dad ran down the stairs, and it was one of the first times I've ever seen him cry. He was so happy because our parents were watching upstairs, like all the parents, and then all of us and our friends, because we didn't know when it was going to be on. So we were just watching, and to see like how excited everyone else was for us it was a really surreal moment.
It was like everybody else kind of realized before we did, because it was just so crazy. And like we were all like kind of like watching, and it was commercial break, and we're like, okay, it's not the last one, it's like in the middle of the awards, and it came on, everybody just started screaming and freaking out, and it took a second to be like, oh my gosh. And it was really incredible.
Is that commercial still available on YouTube, or is it out somewhere?
I forget the exact link to it. It's like on some page that you can view like commercials. But if you do type in like Kelly and Kat,
it's very like
I think it was called Sing Your Frozen Heart Out was the contest.
Yeah, I don't know why they kind of were like swiped a lot of the information off. So it is there.
You can find it,
but it is a little hard to find.
And there's pictures up on Google too from like the day and us in like the clothes. Kohl fit us. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool, ladies. Amazing. So from that point, that was kind of like your social proof, like, oh, we are good together. We are like, we have enough talent to do this thing. When you say took it seriously, what is that? As hearing two people are like, hey, we've been in theater since we were 4 and we've been taking voice lessons. What does it mean to then take it seriously at that point that you weren't doing before?
I think it was just kind of like really, you know, I feel like digging into everything. Like it was 2014, so it was still like kind of the beginnings of Instagram and the beginnings of, I guess, social media in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of like also taking it from being like, this new platform and nobody's really posting on it. Our friends were like posting silly summer pictures and peace signs and everything, to being like, what if we use this and we started posting, clips of us singing? And what if, we really sat down and instead of, we really tried writing more together and developing more songs and really kind of pushing our skills together. And then we actually reached out to our vocal coach because, like I said, she's been such a mentor to us. And she was friendly with Richie Kanata, who owns Cove City Sound Studios here on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And he has played, what did he play? He plays for Billy Joel.
Yes, he plays saxophone. He's super talented, the nicest
amazing
man.
So sweet. So she reached out to him and said, I have these two girls, Kelly and Kat, because they were friendly, and she was like, they have original songs, I've been working with them forever, they're really talented, really driven, would you meet with them and just give them kind of like a direction of where you think they should go, what they should do in the industry, since you know so much? And I think he was busy at the time.
He was either like traveling, performing.
On tour.
He's like, I'm in the studio with Billy right now, so it's going to have to wait.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, who are they? But we ended up actually
meeting with his son, Aaron. He was like, my son Aaron's around. And at the time, Aaron was teaching songwriting at NYU. Aaron was already doing like all these really amazing things in the industry himself. He was also like an artist too, who's producing.
And a producer, yeah.
And so he set up a meeting for us with Aaron. We went in, we sang for Aaron, and Aaron was like, this is awesome. He gave us some great advice. And then Aaron ended up getting back to us a couple of days later and called us and was like, I'd love to work with you guys and produce some of your songs with you, which absolutely amazing.
And and especially like, I think I was 15 then. So to hear that someone who's been in the industry likes the songs that like we've written
and feels like they have potential and wants to help develop, like, it was so amazing. And we worked with Aaron for, I think, a couple months in Brooklyn writing songs. And like, he gave us so much valuable information about songwriting and the process and everything that elevated, I think, our writing in such an incredible way. And then he ended up having to move out to Los Angeles because for like really crazy, amazing projects out there. So he had to make a move and was like, we'll reconnect, the stars will align again, and we'll end up reconnecting. So I think after that,
we definitely took it. It's hard to find a producer, especially when you're 15 or 16. You have no idea what you're doing. So we took that next time of like, we're going to keep writing. And, we said yes to like everything. We did every open mic. We did every performance we could and connected with as many people as we could have. And I think that was part of like taking it seriously for us, was taking all of our free time. And I remember even like having friends in high school be like, you're always doing music stuff. And I was like, yeah, because I love it. Yeah. And so I think that was kind of, like after, Aaron moved and we at that point didn't have a producer, like we made sure we were always doing something, and we tried to take the time to hone in on a skill at any point, because we had performed our whole life. We were on stage, we did theater, but we didn't really have like we needed to hone our skills performing together, because there is a different thing. Like, I'm listening to her, we're trying to mix, we also want to be interesting, then you have to pay attention to the crowd. Like, it is a very different performance. So we, part of that taking it seriously has just been growing every skill in the area, and like also saying yes to everything that we believe lines into like our artist brand.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a really brief break, and we're going to do something different than we usually do on this show. We're actually going to play a clip from this. So this is my Tonight Show moment. We're like, hey, and now we're going to watch the clip of the movie. We're going to listen to your new single.
Yay.
And we're going to play, we'll play the whole thing. We're going to play the whole thing, and people can listen to it, or they can press the fast forward if it's not their style, and everything in between. We're going to play it for you all. We're going to come back, and then I'm going to hit you with a few questions that you do not know are coming. And then we're going to wrap, and we're going to talk about what you all are up to now. So we're going to take a brief commercial break.
I don't like how easily we talk. Now I remember why we stopped. I don't like the way you still look at me. Always remember that you leave. Don't know why I still feel this way. Don't know what more there is to say. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head before you turn it to darkness. Hey, don't know why I keep coming back to this. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head. I don't like the way that I'm thinking about you. Don't like that you still feel it too. Don't know why I still feel this way. Don't know what more there is to say. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head before you turn it to darkness. Hey, don't know why I keep coming back to this. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head. Far away in the galaxy. No matter what, you never leave. Caught in my mentality. I can't control, I do this to myself. And if I had a different brain, I'd think about you anyway. I can't help but fall in too deep. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head before you turn it to darkness. Hey, don't know why I keep coming back to this. Yeah. But I did a picture you in the stardust. Get out of my head.
All right, Kelly, Kat, we are back. I'm sure people love that. Super cool. I have such respect for songwriters. I'm a musician. I play guitar. The idea of writing a song, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, oh, GCD, could throw any, like, I know the theoretical, but I do not have a passion for songwriting. I love improvising on other people's stuff or playing along, but I'm just not a songwriter. And you do not want me singing. Like, that is just not a thing. Not a thing. Not a thing at all. All right, so I'm going to ask you, and I've got like this list of questions that I think are going to be fun for the audience to get to know you a little bit around theater and singing. Let's see. So you're both musical theater people?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your dream role? If you could play any role, and I want each of you to answer, if you could play any role that's ever been in the history of any sort of musical theater, what is your dream role? Let's start with you, Kat. What's your dream role?
I love big, like, belting songs. So I mean, honestly, like, anything that's also a challenge too, like to be Elphaba and Wicked, which I feel like is such an obvious
It's
answer.
Ariana Grande in the movie, isn't it? Isn't, or
Yeah,
is it just she played it?
I think she's going to be playing Glinda.
Glinda, yeah.
Which is what I like. I
You're
love that.
Glinda.
That was the first Broadway show we ever saw.
Yeah.
Our parents took us, and it's just magical. And I've been totally geeking out watching all the little clips that have been released from the movie with Ariana Grande. that's going to be coming out.
But that's also Adina. It plays that character in the original Broadway. That's right. Yeah.
Yes,
there we go.
Definitely. I think that because it's like such a vocal challenge, that really inspires me. Like I can act, but my true passion in performing has always been singing.
Yep.
So I think that, and I think like Dorothy as well. I loved playing Dorothy. I was cast as Dorothy like 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I'd have to say Elphaba and Wicked.
Elphaba and Wicked. Kelly, what about you?
I was going to say Glinda and Wicked.
All right, so we're just going to go Wicked. That's great.
Right.
Perfect.
So you're going to see the film and you're either going to love it or you're just going to hate it, depending on, you're going to be like, there's going to be no in between for the two. You're going to be like, they either killed it or they did not kill it at all.
Oh yeah, and we'll just like have a different opinion. She's gonna be like, "I love it." I'm gonna be like, "Whatever."
Yeah,
no, well, it's gonna be amazing because I feel like everyone they picked has a great voice.
Talented.
Yeah. So the musical theater translation to the big screen is really hit or miss.
That's true.
You can do well or you can really not do well. But I'm assuming for that one, because it's such a popular show, I think I've seen Wicked twice. Yeah, it's a great show. I'm just assuming they're not gonna release it until it's like really good.
Yeah,
versus like Cats, for example, which I did not see, but I understood it was just a shit show.
I didn't see either, but like
I don't think anybody did.
Probably not.
Not many. All right, so let's see. So that's your theater. Who plays each of yours love interest on the other side in your ideal role? So in your ideal role, you get cast across. Yeah, who's the person you most want to act with? Who would be your love interest? Kelly, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you go.
I know he doesn't do musical theater.
Doesn't matter. No caveats. This is whoever want to be.
Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is the most talented man alive. I absolutely love all of his movies and everything, even from the time he was young. So that would be incredible.
That would be, if you could get Leonardo DiCaprio to act with you in a musical, I would think you were one of the most powerful people in all of entertainment. Because I don't think he doesn't sing, does he? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I feel like he can do anything.
He probably could.
He is very magical.
He's probably good. Yeah, I love that. So, Kat, what about you?
I would have to say Drew Starkey, who plays Rafe in Outer Banks. Now, this is probably going to sound bad because in the show, he plays a psychopath and he's trying to like kill everyone. But number one, I think he's really talented. Number two, I think he's really cute. So I have to say him. I'll overlook what he did as that character. It's as
a character, but he's an actor, just like you're all actors. Like,
exactly.
Very good actor.
You appreciate the art of it. Okay, last question around this. Who's your classical, like not classical music, but more of like a little bit older, like not pop music, musical icon or hero? Like, who do you go and go like, man, that person, like if I would have, like, and the reason I asked this, let me just give you a lot of people that I know that are musicians, they kind of relate to themselves as old souls in some way. I don't know if either of you feel that way too. Like, because there's like, if you look at music, how it used to be that it wasn't as produced. I mean, it was produced, but it did a lot of like the stuff that goes on. So, and if you don't have somebody that's your hero, but most singers that I know that I asked will be like, oh, like, and they'll name somebody that's like that's passed away or like that's been gone a long time. So an inspiration. So Kat, let's start with you. Who do you think of, like, who's your musical hero that would be more of a classical kind of person, not a pop star today or like a person today?
I would have to say, I feel like someone like Nat King Cole or Frank Sinatra, someone just with like such just a deep, powerful voice. I mean, like anytime you listen to a Frank Sinatra song, you immediately feel good. You can hear his singing in your like gut. Like he is just
perfect.
I think that's my answer.
I was going to say Frank Sinatra too.
Look at this. So you do have some things in common. Also, if he was alive, you could play opposite of him in Broadway because he was an actor as well.
I know. Yeah, he's one person that I'm like, born in the wrong generation. I could have married Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. And let's see. So Kelly, you are not a writer per se. Are you do you write song or do you collaborate?
I'm a songwriter, just not a guitar player.
Not a guitar player. Do you play anything? Any sort of instrument?
No, I took piano lessons when I was a lot younger, but I'm not really that good at it.
Yeah. Okay. So this question is going to be for both of you.
Okay.
Who's your songwriter hero or heroes?
For me, I would have to say Demi Lovato, I love her songwriting, just all aspects, like lyrics. I love the music they put behind her songs. I love her ad libs. And someone that I also really love is Cody Simpson. His like newer sound in the last few years is just, it's just like, I feel like every song he writes is like a 10 out of 10. There's no skips. And so I definitely find myself pulling inspiration from both those artists, because I feel like even though Demi Lovato writes like pop music and now she's doing pop rock, like it's still timeless to me at the core of it. And that's like what our goal is as songwriters, to make music people can listen to forever. So
I'd have to say mine is probably John Mayer and Kehlani. I really like I've liked them both because I feel like their songwriting is very personal. And I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I know one of John Mayer's songs, I can't remember right now, but I know it's, I don't know if you'll know which one I'm talking about because I'm not describing it, but it's,
oh yeah,
I know it took him
the
like
cat, it's that one, the one she just said,
Which song? The John Mayer.
There was
the
one
John
of
Mayer
his
song
that it took him like a couple days apparently in the studio to record it because it was so emotional. It was a breakup song. I can't think of the name.
That's every
right now.
John Mayer song.
right.
It's just like you can hear like vocally too, like how like much these artists like put into them, the words, the lyrics. It's very personal. Kehlani kind of feels like journal entries, like that's kind of like we pull a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like from those four kind of.
Yeah.
Definitely. I lied. I have one more song. One more question before we talk about what you're up to now.
Okay.
Greatest performer alive?
Ariana Grande. She's incredible.
I have to say Jessie J. We got to see her live in concert years
Very
ago.
talented.
The vocals, the way she worked the crowd, like that woman is not real. I don't know what her voice is made of, but she just demands the stage in a way that I don't think I've ever seen anyone do.
Yeah.
She's like my icon as well.
So interesting. Yeah, that I've heard that about Jessie J. That I'll just say this, and I was just reading about him. He just opened his third residency in Vegas. Garth Brooks is like that too. When you see Garth Brooks, whether you like country or not, the dude, he just works it. You're like, you feel like you're like talking to him, and you're in an arena with 18,000 people. You're like, hey, and he'll be like, what? Like, but it's not just the waving. It's like there's something magical about that energy that artists have. And I think I hear Taylor's got it pretty dialed in for her tour, the Eras tour right now, as well as like, where you're like, this is one of the most famous people in the world, and it kind of feels like I'm at a little concert with her, even though I'm at Madison Square Garden or wherever. That's such a unique combination of skill coupled with like personality, coupled with who you want to be as an artist outside of just the technical aspects.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like even if you don't like country music, you'll still have fun. I think that's like the true test to a good performer, like that you can have fun at a concert. Because think about how many people go to these concerts not knowing every song. It's impossible to know every song by someone like Taylor Swift. She has and I know people do.
I was going to say, I would argue with you. There are many people who know all 44 of the songs she's singing on Eras tour for sure.
But, that's a true test to like an amazing performer, just to, because think about it. You go to a concert and you want to just kind of forget everything else for the few hours you're there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's exactly what those people can do. That's like that's the goal.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to bring it back here now that I pounded you with questions. Let's see. So now you two are out, you're releasing some things. You're active musicians, you're writing, you're singing. Let's talk about what you're doing now. Now, being here at middle of 2023, what's up with you two? What's going on?
So we actually have had, the last few years, we've really worked on developing our sound as artists, and we are releasing a song. It'll be out by the time this is out on the 26th. And
the audience is already going to heard it.
That's very true. Yeah. I know. Ooh, that's so cool. Well, So the song you guys already heard, that one, was started out as a song on, my bedroom floor, and it's definitely gone through quite the process. And so it's kind of surreal now that it's like out into the world. People have heard it already. But yeah, the next few months for us is just, we have a music video coming up. We have,
nice.
We have an EP coming up at the end of the summer with 2 more songs. So we're, super excited. And I know Kelly mentioned earlier that we, with our producer, Aaron, who actually co-wrote these songs with us. And we were lucky enough back in 2020 to reconnect with him. And so, it feels crazy now that, like he was like, the stars will align one day. And now we have this song called Stardust with him. So it's kind of like a full circle moment. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where everything's at now. And we're just so excited to finally have this music be out there because we put like so much into it. And earlier this year, we were in LA doing all the visuals and taking a bunch of meetings and hanging out with our producer. And so then we did the music video. So it's definitely been a really busy year for us.
But really exciting.
Yeah, everything's really cool.
That's super exciting. Are you all, so you have the single coming, you have an EP coming, you're constantly working on new material, I would assume, as singers and songwriters. You're constantly doing that. We're going to get Kelly playing an instrument at some point. We need to have multi-talented. You can save money when you're on tour because you can do both.
That is very true.
That is true. But, it's funny you mentioned Stardust. I'm going to go a little off. I'm going to give you a piece of music history. Are either of you music history? Like, do you enjoy the history of music at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I was a music history kind of major and stuff in college.
There you go. Nice. So this is going to be a little bit of, I'm a big music trivia person. Do you know Michael Jackson Thriller was not called Thriller? The original name of that song was Starlight.
Yes, I remember hearing about this, which is so interesting. It is
so, and I'm saying this not because I'm trying to be Mr. Jeopardy trivia, but more like, but the process of music. I'll email you to, it's on YouTube, and it's the same hook, it's the Thriller hook, the same melody of the vocals, but it's Starlight. And that was the first iteration of that. And I think Quincy Jones got his hand on it or somebody, and the iteration process ended up being arguably the most famous song off the #1 selling album of all time, I believe still. Wow. So just so interesting. And I say this, as you all know this too, like the iterations that it takes to come out with a thing that you go between your producer as the artist. It's because I think a lot of us, we hear music like John Mayer. Like, I love John Mayer. I love John Mayer mostly because he's the lead singer of Dead & Company now. I'm a big Grateful Dead fan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to see him twice in 2 weeks up in Saratoga Springs. Right. Yeah. And maybe it's City Field. But like, that song probably took him, but that's a lot of time in a studio, like 16 hours writing lyrics, like the guitar licks, I don't know if you're doing acoustic stuff, you're playing like riffs in there, but like that stuff takes a lot of time. But as the consumers, we don't think about I don't even think about it. I know what goes into it.
Yeah. I mean, and the original song actually was called Get Out of My Head, but it kind of went through a similar thing where I wrote the original idea, and then, I wrote the guitar, had this little cool riff, and then Kelly came in and we worked on it. And the chorus was just like, get out of my head. And that was 3 lines of that. And it was very repetitive and it was catchy, but we held on to that for, a while and wrote other songs. And when we reconnected with our producer, Aaron, who at the time, now he's a writer for Warner Music, and he's just incredible. And he listened to some of our songs and he liked that one to start with. And when we were in the writing session, he was like, I love this, but I want to rework the chorus a little bit, tweak some things here and there. We came up with this really cool bridge idea, but the Stardust idea, he was like, what if there was Stardust in there? I would love for you guys to have like a really catchy title, something that like really draws people in. Mm-hmm. And so from there, we came up with the concept of the Stardust. But it was one of those processes where like the song has had so many facelifts. And then it's like, then you have to write the harmonies, and then we have to write the ad libs, and then Aaron would produce it, and then John Arbuckle, who was the engineer, he was such a big help in the background vocals. So yeah, I mean, it really is like a process. And one of the songs in the EP has so many background vocals, and we did harmonized ad libs on the second chorus and then the last chorus. That's
so stacked.
When we went into
is it the two of you, or do you have backup singers singing back up to you two?
Just us.
Just you two? Yeah. Nice.
And when we went to go record it, we like had our lyric sheet and stuff, but I was like, my brain is gonna explode because there's so many different parts that like once we finally got it, we went in the studio and did it. I was like, I can breathe because there's so
Yeah.
many layers. And that was something that was really important to us to include, like that Ariana Grande layered harmonies vibe in there. But yeah, I mean, it takes a lot, and it is interesting when you listen to songs, like you said, like you're just like, oh, la la la, this is a song. But I always try at least to listen to all the little things because that's where the interesting stuff lies.
Yeah. 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 I never knew this until I started, excuse me, playing guitar. And then I think for most, like if you're a singer, you listen for the vocals. If you're a guitar player, you listen for the guitar. And like for me, the bass drummers would be like, oh, and then this little part in the bridge, they did like this little fill thing. Like you just start to, because you know what they're doing. And it's just
Yeah.
so fascinating, the amount of work, and also the number of times in the studio that maybe you didn't like your take. You'd like, oh, I got a catch in my voice when I sang this chorus, or I was a little dehydrated, and you go back and you go back and you go back. And then the output is this 3.5 to 4 minute thing. We're like, oh, wow, that's so good. But you're like, it's so good because it's like anything else in life. It takes a lot of work and a lot of talent. And I'm going to ask you about the new single.
Sure.
Is it written about anybody specific?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the original idea came about because I was running into someone in our town that I didn't really want to see anymore. And it was an ex at the time and still an ex. But
at the time, and now we're actually getting married next week. So
clarify that. But it was, it was one of those things where you're like, I don't want to see you anymore. And I feel like most people can relate. Like you live in a small town, especially out of high school. And so, that's where like the get out of my head part came from. And it, really was inspired by like, I know you're no good for me, but you're everywhere.
Which is like our songwriting process. This is like another thing because we are so different.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, but so similar. When we came back to the song in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, we actually then both went through breakups at the same time.
Yeah.
And when we came back to the song with Aaron, we both had like, even going through breakups at the same time, both had different experiences, different, relationships and everything. And then coming to the song and then taking both of our kind of unique perspectives to it and kind of going in and reworking it, Aaron kind of said to us, like, where do you want to go with this song? Like, or what kind of idea, like before we got to the whole Stardust thing, and we were talking about breakups in general and how like, you really put people on a pedestal, especially when you're dating. And then when breakups and stuff happen and you kind of see people's true colors, or even at an end of a relationship, it's like, I feel like we're both similar in this way. And I think a lot of people are that, like, especially with a long-term relationship, you want to hold them in like a good place still and like think about it fondly. But when people keep doing things that maybe aren't so great over and over again, it kind of like you kind of start to realize that maybe you made up a version of them a little bit that didn't really exist and kind of romanticized it. So we kind of took Stardust as like, it's a bright idea to picture you in the Stardust, like that is kind of like where the romanticized version of them is. But like, before you turn this to darkness is one of the lyrics. And it's like, the more you keep running into them, the more you keep interacting, the more you keep seeing who they truly are. It's like, it's taking them out of that light, which is kind of what the whole song ended up then kind of turning into.
Yeah. And I think it was interesting too, from both of our unique perspectives. Like she had gone through a years long relationship, and mine
like
was
4.5 years.
Mine was a very short relationship, a few months. And so having that kind of mold together was really interesting. And even like, as the songs progress and the older we get, like there are certain songs that we've written, like our older songs that like was about one person. Now I kind of feel like the idea sparks from this person, and then the more that you write, it kind of, there's little things from every experience. And so I think, which is really interesting, because it is cool to kind of have all the experiences lay together. And at the end of the day, like when we wrote it, it was this like, it starts as this like heavy emotional song. And now when we listen to it, because of everything the song's been through and how excited we are, it's just like a fun song to me. And
it feels like rebirth.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, get out of my head, leave me alone. And it's just such a fun song. And I feel like it feels refreshing because we really do, like, our old songs were breakup songs, and so this has that same emotional feeling, but it's just like a fun listen.
Yeah, I said it's interesting. I never dated a musician like a songwriter, but you have to expect you are going to be forever immortalized in one way or another.
Yeah.
And it depends on how the relationship goes, right? Like at the beginning you may be in there as like the happy poppy.
Yep.
And then as you progress, you may be in there as like some turmoil, and then you may end up like in a Taylor Swift style, like you're the dude with the red scarf, who we all know who that is now, based on he was just on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Like it's so interesting. Like you have to expect, you're like, listen, we're going out, and by the way, you are likely going to end up in a lyric or a song at some point. It just depends when it's going to be appropriate.
And I feel like that's kind of fun too, because at least
it is fun.
in my personal life, like people will say things, or like, and I'll put like little Easter things in there, like maybe they'll know it's about them, or like, and I think that's fun. And I definitely have gotten people, especially in our small town, be like, you wrote that song about me. And it's like, well, then don't treat me like crap then.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It kind of is like just a given. Like this is where and also I think it's a compliment too, because it's like,
totally.
you made me feel something enough to write about it. Like that means I cared about you, and whatever happened after that, now you're going to live on forever.
Yeah, like that. And then the last thing on this is if somebody's going to go out with a songwriter, they'd better be like, what a great way to learn about how people think about like dating and romance, and like their like thoughts on love and heart and heartbreak and all that, just by listening to some of their, like you said, John Mayer, like in, what did you say, is like, I'm the boy in your telephone, whatever, in the new light. He's like, I'm the boy in yourself. Like, oh, I'm like 40 and I'm like I'm the other guy in your cell phone. Like that says something about how he thinks about himself. I think you can point at most good songwriters about that. All right, ladies, we're going to wrap up in a minute, but since I have you here, we are going to get some expert advice and opinions for the listeners.
Sure.
Some of the listeners are probably parents of children. Some people might be listening. They might have an inkling. They want to go into theater. They wanted to go into the arts. So I'd love to hear anything that you've learned, or like, and I'm sure people ask you this all the time. I would guess like, hey, like I have my daughter's expressing interest in this, or, hey, like I'm in high school now and I'm finding I have a beautiful voice and I really want to explore this. It feels natural for me. What kind of advice do you have for either parents of children or, new artists that are, around your age, and like I said, you two have been at it a long time now.
Yeah.
Well, not that long, but I mean, long as compared to most of us. So yeah, what would you say to them, or what do you want people to know?
I would say one of the first things is, I know for us, development is extremely helpful, whether that's taking acting classes, getting involved, trying out at the school plays, local theater, taking voice lessons. The more that you do things like that, and the more you worked on your craft, just the better, the more comfortable, the more confident you're going to be in that. And one of the biggest takeaways that I have ever learned in my entire life that stuck with me is, I took acting classes at Stella Adler in the city. And I remember one of the big things that they said was, if you're and this goes for life with everything, they were like, if you're standing outside the audition room and you hear somebody auditioning and reading, and it's not at all the way you were going to be doing it, they're doing it really sad or really happy, and you were going to do it a whole different way. They said, your biggest power is you, and you have to do what is true to you. And like, don't try to emulate, don't try to copy, like, because your uniqueness is something that nobody can copy. So I think that has been something that has been a major takeaway for everything that I have been doing.
For me, I would say, like what Kelly said, it definitely builds your confidence. It can help take people out of their shell. There's so many things, I think, outside of performing that it's helpful for, just like as a person. I think like that's why they always say, like, to people, they suggest people for their jobs, like, go to improv classes, because it really does help build you as a person. So, but I do also think that it is 2023. And so if you're, your child or your friend or whatever it is, I think especially for parents, like if your child wants to perform, I know it is a hard business. Like, of course it is. There's a lot of criticism, But there's so many ways for artists to make money and make a living today that, I think the thing that I'm excited about is like when we were younger, we're so lucky our parents were so supportive. But we had friends' parents who were always like, "Oh, you need to get a real whatever, and you need to have like real aspirations." And at the end of the day, like I've always known I wanted to do this, and I think some people do. And so, there is a lot of opportunity for people to make a living, to make money. And I think that, in the past it was easy to discourage people, but if you're someone that really wants to, or your child really wants to go down a creative outlet, like there's so many ways to succeed today. And having supportive parents has changed everything for us. We're so lucky and so grateful. And so, and like Kelly said, no one is you and that is your power. So you never know what they're looking for to fill a hole in the industry or whatever it is.
Yeah. Sage advice. Well, I want to wish you two the very best with the first release, the EP release. I'd love to have you come back on later this year, maybe in the fall, and talk about how it's gone for you, what's new in your world. You're always going to be writing. Maybe you'll have some new breakup stuff in there. Maybe you have some like positive stuff. We don't know. We're going to find out about your love life. Yeah, well, like no breakups. It'll all be like super happy poppy stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and then to wrap up, I have a last question for you both, and this is about when you two get a chance to get out on the road with your stuff. Who's your dream to open for? Before you headline, who's your dream to open for? You headline someday, but for now, like who are you opening for?
I mean, I want to say Demi Lovato because I love Demi Lovato, and I think that she's another amazing performer.
I would say John Mayer, Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift. I really do like Taylor Swift. I love her songwriting.
Brilliant songwriter.
Brilliant. I mean, brilliant. And also opening for Taylor Swift, they're sending you into millions of people. Like, go ahead. Like, no prep time. But yeah, I mean, I feel like anyone that probably we grew up watching, because it just is so inspirational, and like probably a crazy moment to be like, oh my God, I'm opening for this person. And like, so yeah.
Yeah. And then most openers at some point, you come back out and sing a song or two with them at some point.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the tradition, which is also, really cool.
Yeah. Crazy.
So glad we made this happen, ladies. Congratulations on everything. We'll have you come back on and give us an update soon. Keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see people expressing themselves out in the world. And thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with Jason Frizzell. If you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and give us a shout out, or take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. If something from today's episode piqued your interest and you'd like to connect, email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners because you're cool people too.